Hey y'all, so it's been a minute since I talked about cars on this channel. So today I wanted to get into car financing and why it just may not be the best decision to finance a car, especially if you're in a debt-free journey. If you're currently looking to buy a car right now, I know the desire to buy a car that is enviable, that you can show off to your friends. The desire to get a really nice car is strong. A lot of people really want nice cars. And in order to get a nice car, most people have to finance it in order to afford it, right? But it may not actually be good for your bank account in the long run. It's simply not really worth it in the grand scheme of things. And I'm going to talk about why in a minute. My husband and I haven't had a car note in 6 years. And before we paid off the cars that we have now, we paid off our old cars as well, okay? So we didn't have car notes even prior to paying these cars off, at least not after we got married. We made sure to dedicate our, expenses to actually paying the cars off way before the loan was up. It wasn't worth, paying a car note every single month, knowing that the interest was accumulating, each year, and it was generating interest each year that we didn't pay it off. And the fact that even though a car is considered an asset, it depreciates in value as soon as you drive it off the lot. So it's not really the best investment, especially if you're paying notes on it each month. Now, you can actually use your car to make money. Some people rent out their cars. You can actually put your car like on a rental website. There's websites where you can rent your car out for just a day, days at a time, for kind of like the Airbnb for cars. So there's ways to actually use your car as an asset, as a money generating asset. But it's not likely that it'll be a significant form of income, especially if you're just doing it with one car, right? So that's what I mean by it just isn't really the best investment in relation to all the other ways that you can make money, okay? So that's why I don't believe that having a car note, paying on a car for years at a time is really worth it. I think you should just pay it off. So I'm gonna give you some reasons why you may never wanna finance a car again, and instead either buy it in cash or pay it off within a year like we did. Let's get into the tea. One of the more obvious reasons why it's better to just buy a car in cash or pay it off as soon as you can is for simplicity. You don't wanna have an additional payment each month that is not really necessary. When you add a car note to all the other bills that you have, bills that you won't be able to do anything about, it just adds additional stress to all the other things that you have to take care of, Think about how much simpler it will be to not have to worry about having a car payment on top of all the other bills that you have. You alleviate the additional stress that comes with having a car loan. That's one more thing that you don't have to worry about in the grand scheme of all of your other expenses. Another reason not to finance a car is, like I mentioned before, it depreciates in value. It's just not really the best investment. Cars aren't the best assets. I will say, some people say cars aren't assets at all, but the world that we're in right now, you can actually use your car to make money. Okay, like I said before, there's people who rent their car out for the day, and you can actually make money from that. There's I forgot what the websites are called, but you can actually put your car on these websites. It's similar to Airbnb, but it's just for cars. And that's a money and generating asset in that sense, but it's not the best asset. You probably won't get as much money from doing that. It may not end up being that profitable, but it's not considered to be an asset in that sense. Nowadays, you could use it as one. But at the end of the day, why finance something that's losing its value? You know what I mean? I'd rather, finance assets that are actually appreciating in value over time rather than depreciating in value. Another reason why you should never finance a car again is because of interest. Why pay interest when you don't have to? If you could buy a car in cash right off the lot, why not do that? Especially, like I mentioned before, it's not like it appreciates in value. It depreciates as soon as you drive it off the lot. So you're paying interest on something that's actually losing its value. It's sucking the money out of your bank account, and with interest, it just makes it even worse. Another big reason why you don't want to finance a car is because you will end up buying a more expensive car. If you can afford the monthly payments on a car that is maybe half of your actual yearly income, like let's say you make $60,000 a year and you want to finance a $30,000 car because you can afford it. You can afford the monthly payments, whatever that may be. Even if it's a monthly payment of $400, you can afford that monthly payment. You're going to do it because you can afford $400, even though it's a $30,000 car, half of your income. So it will take you quite a while to pay it off. You're willing to do that because you can finance it. But this gets you trapped, right? But this traps you. You end up spending more money on this depreciating asset, and you don't really have to, just because you can. And so you also want to, have the optics of having a nice car, and it's human nature to do that, right? But you don't want to get trapped into that because, again, you have all these other expenses in your life that you need to take care of. And especially if you're on a financial journey, you're trying to pay off debt, you're trying to get into a better situation financially, you're trying to be financially independent. Having this additional payment just isn't really worth it. You want to be able to free up that money on paying off debt or buying assets that are actually going to make you money over time, and appreciate in value. One of the biggest reasons why you should not finance a car is because of cash flow. This kind of like goes without saying, but when you don't have that additional car payment, regardless of how much it is, you would be able to use that money that you would spend on a car note on other necessary things in your life. Like I mentioned, paying off debt, using that money to invest in other assets, using that money for other things, maybe saving it. It just gives you a lot more cash flow potential. Another reason why you probably shouldn't finance a car is because you get the opportunity to live debt free. Imagine the feeling of being able to pay off a car and not having that additional payment to bog you down so that you can focus on other things in your life. I know the feeling of accomplishment that you get when you pay off such a large expense that you can actually be free of. So you might be thinking, this all sounds great, Valerie, but I don't have the means to buy a car in cash right now. But I really need transportation and I really need to buy a car. So what are my options here? So this is what you do. So because some people really don't understand this. Some people think that you have to buy an expensive car. That's just a part of the process. If you can finance it, then you will buy an expensive car. It's some people really think that that's the smartest decision. But I will say that the first thing that you should do, if you really want to not have the burden of a car note, but you don't have the means to pay it in cash right off the bat, what you want to do is you don't want to buy a car that's above your means, okay? So don't get shiny object syndrome and choose to finance a car with all the bells and whistles because you've been sold on it, right? Because it looks good and because you can afford the monthly payment. Don't buy a car that's above your means, right? In fact, it's better to buy a car that's below your means, something that you could pay off within a year or two, right? So you wouldn't want to buy something that's worth half of your income. Like I said before, if you're making $60,000, you don't want to buy a $30,000 car. Why? You can buy a car that's, a fraction of the money that you make per year. That way you know that you are able to pay it off. You can buy a car that's $13,000 or $10,000 instead, and that can be paid off a lot quicker than a $30,000 car. So you want to get something that's within your means and preferably below your means. And you don't want to get shiny object syndrome. When you go to the dealership, you don't want to get shiny object syndrome and finance the car with all the bells and whistles because they've sold you on some sort of a package, right? Or some sort of a deal, like no money down, or getting the first 3 months of the car for free, where you don't have to pay on the car until 3 months after you buy it, right? Some people are really sold on that. Some dealerships will do that. They'll say that, you don't have to pay the car until several months from now. And that will sell a lot of people. Some dealerships will also give you a deal where they say, we're not even going to check your credit. These are marketing tactics, and they will bait you into a long-term financing deal, okay, that you don't want to be sucked into. But don't fall for that, okay? Because there's almost always some fine print that you might have missed regarding additional interest. It's usually they always get you in the additional interest part of it, right? So don't fall for those little bells and whistles or the shiny objects that get you to purchase a car that you know is way above your means, but it's your dream car, and oh my gosh, I can afford the monthly payments, and I also don't have to pay the car until 3 months from now, and I also get no money down. I could just get the car right now and not have to pay anything down on it, and I don't have to worry about my, credit. all that, don't fall for it, because it's usually always meant to trap you and to get you into a deal that you're not going to really be able to afford later on down the line. Okay, and it'll suck all your finances, and you just don't want to do that. The next thing that you need to do is you need to plan to save additional cash so that you can put additional money on your car note each month. So with the base amount of money that you have to pay each month on your car note, plan to put additional money with your base car note amount, the base amount that you have to pay. What you want to do is you want to calculate how much money you'll need to pay each month on your car to pay it off within a year or two. Okay, if you can't afford a year, then increase it to 2 years. And you want to do this also before you sign off on this car, right? You want to do all the calculations before you sign on the dotted line and purchase this car. So make sure you do all your calculations before you drive it off the lot, so that you're not stuck in a situation that you didn't really realize you would be in. Calculate the interest, calculate the loan terms, calculate all of that, and make sure that you know how much money you will have to pay on it each month to be able to pay it off within a year. Okay, so if they tell you your car note is only $230 a month, okay, well, plan on paying more than that each month, and make sure that you can afford it, right? It has to be affordable for you. If you're trying to buy a car right now, let me know in the comments how it's going. Hopefully this video helps you kind of make your decision. Subscribe to join the tea party. Hit that bell to be notified when I drop my next video about personal finance. Help your girl out. And until next time, y'all, bye.